the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library's monthly podcast from the Homelands.
Hello and welcome. You are listening to our podcast Voices from the Homelands, produced by the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Every month you can listen an interview with respected personalities in our homelands, Slovakia or the Czech Republic. My name is Pavol Demeš and I live in Bratislava, where we are recording this podcast. It's my great privilege to welcome to our program Ján Figel, well-known personality in Slovak and European politics with deep expertise in interfaith dialogue. Thank you, Ján, for accepting my invitation to our podcast series.
Thank you, Pavol. Thank you all who listened to this interview. I'm glad that we can share and build one community between two sides of Atlantic Ocean.
You are known by many Slovaks and beyond as Mr. Europe, since you played key role in entry of our country to European Union in 2004. You were Chief Negotiator for our membership, and then you served as historically first Slovak Commissioner. But also later, after you finished this mission, you served and cultivated interfaith dialogue between European Union and rest of the world. But our program is focused mostly, and I would like to talk to you today, namely about your attitude to the United States, and then about challenges which we are facing in transatlantic dialogue in these rather turbulent times. And in conclusion, of course, since you were also leader of Christian Democrats and you have met multiple spiritual leaders around the world, I would like to talk also about how this community can tackle some of the outstanding challenges. So first, your family and your personal encounters and relations to the United States.
Thank you for this very large composition of items or issues. It speaks about our possibilities now in free democratic country and community, because our fathers, grandfathers didn't have such possibilities. They could dream, and they did. And me as well. When I was a boy and child and youngster, I tried to learn English, and now I can speak, and I use it for many encounters because I wanted to understand better the Western world. Three brothers of my grandfather, Ján Figel, left then Hungary and then Czechoslovakia. From the problem was the economic decline and the poverty actually in the east of Slovakia. So after many decades, they now discover our family roots, our cousins in the United States.
And where are they living, or where they settled?
Throughout the states, from the east till the west of the west, because there are many Figels which I found already, and I meet some of them, and this is really very joyful commemoration of the past and now building common future. Secondly, my uncle Ján Figel was eliminated, liquidated by the Stalinist secret service. So for us, fight for freedom, for us as a family, was always part of desire of family life. And I somehow try to repay my debt because my uncle paid the price, the highest total price, and I enjoy freedom, democracy, possibilities which were unprecedented. So what you said about my nomination or activities as Chief Negotiator or First Commissioner, I also delivered Slovakia's membership action plan to Brussels for NATO membership, and then led pre-name program, preparation for NATO membership. I signed the accession treaty together with the President Schuster, Prime Minister Dzurinda, Foreign Minister Kukan. This was like embodiment of a dream, and also the objective which can be labeled to my uncle and young generation of people like Tunega, Pucik, Tesar, freedom fighters in full sense of the term. So we should be aware that our freedom is not free of charge, it's not automatic, but result of struggle and sacrifice.
When have you visited the United States for the first time? And when you visited US last time?
I visited for the first time physically in person the United States in 1993 autumn. Then I was young member of parliament, and it was first ever parliamentary mission or visit to know the states, to build relations on all levels, from federal to state, and then local in some important cities. I recall that we visited states like Tennessee, Arkansas, Colorado, Pennsylvania, California, Ohio, but also District of Columbia. And it was really amazing discovery. I will never forget it. From east to the west and from the west to the east. US is very diverse. And then, of course, I built relations because it was not sightseeing, but building a community. And since then, I visited the US multiple times. I'm still in cooperation with universities in Utah or New York. I can say I have many friends there. I have a very close family in Phoenix, Arizona. And also on political level, a lot of friends and collaborators on the same objectives.
Today, United States is undergoing profound change, both in domestic and in foreign policy. Some people are saying that there is decline of U.S. democracy, decline of U.S. role as a global leader in and country which was taking care of democracy development around the world. Are you afraid what's going on? Because we can see people, okay, this is just natural evolution of the United States. Somebody would say that this is just something totally unexpected. So let's map your personal attitude, but then I would like to discuss how EU and US should talk to each other in tackling challenges. But the general feel for development of the United States, which you know so well.
I still feel young, but I have some years to remember and to shoulder. And I must say that my father would love to have this question, or my problems, our problems. And I think each generation has specific and very natural responsibility. But I would call these issues a relative problem or a relative crisis. Just to as a comparison. For example, when people fled out from Europe because of fascism, Nazism, persecution, this was a real problem. When people come to Europe because it's seen as a prosperous and interesting and peaceful space, it is a relative problem. So, America. I think that United States, after its own evolution, now need to find a new balance. Difficult to say whether this now policy under Donald Trump is short-term or mid-term perspective. It is in the hands of Americans. On the other side, we are interdependent. This term was very strongly used even by Ján Figel Kennedy, interdependence. So we wish Americans the best. They should wish us the best. We are together either winners or losers, and we wish to win, which means not so much material, but rather a spiritual and a human dimension of evolution. 21st century should be more peaceful and more humane time than the 20th century. And we should remember, because Euro-Atlantic or American engagement in the last century was by many and even correctly called Pax Americana. Now it's ending, for better or for worse. the point is very interesting. Maybe we will discuss it sometime next because it's a huge issue. And I wish Americans to find a new balance, because crisis is usually a result of disbalance. When we consume more than produce, when we borrow money instead of create legacy and heritage for children, when children must pay for fathers because they were either drinking or irresponsible. So a new balance in America and around America is the proper objective. We can not only discuss it, but work on this. This is our interdependence. I think this is our mutual interest even.
You were member of European Commission and you negotiated many things as part of the team of EU Commission. And nowadays, always between US and EU, there was the most important partnership, the largest trading partner, working together, not only in transatlantic space, but also together Americans and Europeans found common ground, helping people either in the Balkans, former Soviet republics. We work together. Americans has all kinds of assistance programs, which we learned from in the European Union. How did you see this challenge which Ursula von der Leyen, Maroš Šefčovič, Slovak commissioner who was in charge of negotiating these tariffs? I think that we have completely new quality of dialogue between EU and US. What were your feelings when you were seeing Ursula von der Leyen, for example, and Maroš Šefčovič in Scotland at golf course negotiating not 30% but 15% tariffs and several other issues? How would you compare those days when you served with today's Commission's role and job dealing with American president and American administration?
Sincerely?
Absolutely.
I also prefer sincerity over flosculas. Yes, I was a relatively young commissioner and I met George Bush Jr., President of the United States, in our seat in Berlaymont, Brussels. For the first time, US President found not only telephone number, but the address, where to come, where to meet, where to work together with Europeans. And I met him also in Irish, on Irish territory, because Ireland was in charge of EU presidency. So it was the time of equal friends, partners, allies, and I think this should be the reality, not exception, not sometime, but regularly. Now, even in your question, it is a bit strange for me to see a deal done at the golf course in Scotland, private asset of US President Donald Trump, and especially the result. Many people say it's capitulation or loss 15-0. This is not the topic of our talk, but I would say it's a challenge. It's a call for more mature, more balanced relationship, and especially because we can do our homeworks. I cannot say what Americans should do in a very polite manner. I can advise or see, but Europe must become a reliable but also autonomous partner, friend, ally. It depends what we speak about. And the biggest asset of European Union so far was the commerce and economy. We were strong in economy, but weak in security. And now we need to rebalance it, because usually even thieves or criminals attack rich people which are defenseless. This is, obvious story or history. So for Europe, it's a call to wake up, to do what is proper, what is needed. It was not done before. I don't want to speak long because it's a short interview, but for example, in 1954, European Defense Community was refused. then postponed and then definitely stopped by French Assemblée Nationale. So Europe didn't build its own capacity, and it relied, which was fair, on transatlantic defense community. Okay, but we need to be again mature partner, and the same is for trade. The same is for general geopolitical policies. I think that European story is so inspirational that it should be vital or revitalized, of course, by current representation. I have doubts about capability of current representation, I mean institutional in Brussels, to show such leadership, commitment, and especially perseverance, because these issues are long-term. They cannot be done by, one ceremonial meeting or anniversary celebration, but long-term, wise, prudent policies. And this is the task. This is missing today.
You are listening to the NCSML monthly podcast from the Homelands.
I would like to refer to image, which we saw recently, European leaders in White House, in Oval Office, right after Alaska meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Suddenly, unprepared, they went together, 7 European leaders, together with Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, Ursula von der Leyen, presidents of Finland, France, prime ministers of Italy, Germany, Secretary General of NATO. So I think that very strong 7 leaders sitting in White House together with Zelensky and trying to find out a way how to settle this deadly conflict which is going on for 4 years. This Ukraine is dividing a lot Europe and the United States. Many things being done through NATO summit, decisions that we will be European allies buying American armed equipment and providing it further to Ukraine. Topic too complex, but how did you see that format of summit in White House, and what is your assessment? What was achieved vis-a-vis Russia, vis-a-vis Ukraine in this latest meeting in White House?
Message of this meeting is quite complicated or questionable even, because you said that there were many and there still were not all, or for example, Poland was very jealous or embarrassed by not being invited. Even when we go and speak about 27, we are not united on peace process or war issue in Ukraine. What I think is lack of real wisdom, political wisdom, and I'm sorry to be rather critical that personalities like Adenauer, Schuman, de Gaulle are missing. One cannot get a message which could be so important, so inspirational to be quoted on a daily basis and followed in practical deeds or policies and achieving the goal which is very noble, peace in Europe. We thought that peace is here, and 70 years showed example, but we remain divided. It's a special theme. I'm sure we need more time, but we won the Cold War, but we didn't win peace. And that's huge difference, to win the war or to win also peace, lasting, real, just peace. And why? Because we didn't build Schuman community in full sense, because it was not intended only for Western Europe or Western plus Central. It was for all Europe, as de Gaulle repeated from 1959 almost everywhere, Europe from Atlantic to Ural. And he provoked even Soviets then, speaking about their territory. But this European unity, European dream of peace is in the sincere or most sincere interest of the United States as well. The US paid the price for the First World War, Second World War, very high price. And also Cold War was not easy. Of course, it meant that the United States became a dominant superpower. But look now, they cannot stop relatively simple war, clash in Europe. Donald Trump promised in 24 hours, 24 weeks were not enough. And I am sure that it is not about time. It is about wisdom, wise solution, which could qualitatively change the game, politologues say, the development, which today says we are not strong enough to defeat Russia. We were not wise enough to prevent war. And there is no real a promising message or solution coming from either White House or Brussels or other headquarters.
Now, coming to spiritual leaders, you were part of multiple meetings. You were keynote speaker at national prayer breakfast formats, either in the United States, in Europe, and elsewhere around the world. You met several popes, several patriarchs, and all kinds of spiritual leaders. In these turbulent times, do you think that these community of spiritual church leaders are engaged enough? Because you said several critical remarks on the side of policymakers, both in the United States and in Europe. Are they coming with some new, fresh thinking or solutions which would help to resolve, for example, this bloody war in Ukraine? Let's focus on that issue.
Again, a great theme and for another interview. Look, religion is part of mankind since the historical beginnings, in any case, in any direction. According to Pew Research Center, which is located in Washington, D.C., 84% of the global population declares religious affiliation, and the number is growing. So religion is important for our identity, for our thinking, our relations. Secondly, I worked for 4 years as first ever special envoy for promotion of religious freedom or belief outside the EU. And I've seen the measure of persecution, of discrimination, intolerance, and even we can speak about genocides because there were and there are very many. I was nominated in time of genocide in Syria and in Iraq in 2016, so by ISIS. It is important. And those who do not understand religion, and especially abuse of religion, do not understand what is going on in the world today. If we don't understand, how can we help? So it's an invitation, not only to follow, but to understand. On the other side, you ask about leaders. This promotion and defense, for example, the U.S. have a International Religious Freedom Act since 1998, including strong policies, budget, special ambassador at large, State Department support. So we care about freedom, but freedom is always linked as two sides of one coin with responsibility, freedom and responsibility, rights and duties. And I think this is the invitation or message even to religious leaders, because freedom without responsibility is a black ride, is like consuming without creating or working. So when I meet religious leaders, and for example now in September I will meet many and important in Astana in Kazakhstan, which is very important global gathering, I always speak not only about freedom of religion, but also responsibility of religion. Like we know the notion corporate social responsibility. Companies have responsibility, not only for profits. The same goes with churches and religious communities to care about society, about tendencies, trends, truth, justice, common good. Because then we can see the fruits of such attitude. I'm glad, and I think this is great sign or even asset of hope. There is a new American, one could say, Pope, who is the most international Pope since ever, probably. Born and grew up in United States and then living in Latin America.
Yeah, people in Chicago are very proud of him.
yeah, rightly so. But then he lived and slept on the floor with Peruvians in Peru, with Indians there. He speaks Spanish. And then he lived 20 years in the center of religious communication cooperation in Vatican, in Rome. So he is very international. And moreover, his first message and continued message is on peace and unity. And this unity doesn't mean something, theological, but deeply human. We are one mankind. We are one human family. And when we read texts or whatever documents of United Nations since post-World War II times, it speaks about human dignity. It speaks about brotherhood. We should behave in the spirit of brotherhood. This is UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So if this spirit is not delivered by churches, religious communities, then by whom? By businesses? By governments? Impossible. So that's the role, and very decisive role of religious communities in our times. And I wish I mentioned already the 21st century should be more humane. That's the road to take. And dignity, when I worked and met a lot of representatives or communities in Muslim-majority countries, I discovered that, for example, human dignity, dignitatis humana in Latin, has a echo in Arab or Muslim-majority countries in Karamah. And that we should understand human dignity as a common ground on which we can build common future and even common victory over the tendencies of terrorism, extremism, violence. Yeah. And that's the role of religious leaders and communities.
Jan, have you met Pope Francis?
Yeah. Yeah, several times.
Several times.
Yeah.
And so if you would compare Pope Francis with current Pope and their attitudes towards the settlement of Ukrainian cause, are there some differences in approach, or they are sort of quite similar?
I would say maybe that's a nice notion, unity in diversity, because they are different, but they are also united on the messages, especially, as I said, on peace and unity or dialogue between the West and the East. I could go even deeper in history. There was very strong commitment of John Paul II, for example, to visit Moscow. He spoke about Europe breathing with two lungs, East and West, left and right. Which one is more important? Both. It's like with the two chambers of one heart. So again, they were different. One was Latino, and the other one is, let's say, a typical American by origin, but he's very international, highly intellectual, knowledgeable about the tendencies or issues of the time, including artificial intelligence. And therefore, I have trust that the more we speak about this missing spiritual dimension of current policies, the more we discover it back, because I said that if we don't understand religion, ethnicity, these natural parts of people's identity on one side, and if we forget that we are one mankind with equal dignity, all equal in dignity, but all different in identity, this is not the problem, this is the definition. And once we understand truth and definitions, and we embrace truth, then we will find a way ahead, because truth liberates us, not United States. Freedom of Statue of Freedom in front of New York is highly emblematic and inspirational. I would wish that there is also another statue of responsibility, for example, mother holding child. This is the best label or symbol of responsibility, being either at New York or the other side and the Pacific Ocean. Simply freedom and responsibility is invitation to care and to deliver, and then we can hope for more humane 21st century.
Jan, I think that I'm not going to ask another question because it was just so well put at the end of our discussion. I truly enjoyed talking to you and would like, on behalf of our listeners, thank you for accepting my invitation. You shared your thoughts, wisdom with all of us. I wish you good luck in your endeavor, and I hope that after you come back from Astana, where you will meet numerous spiritual leaders who will be struggling with this topic of turbulences and disbeliefs in settling some of these very complicated issues, that we can have some continuous chat on that.
Thank you, Pavol. Maybe one idea in this complicated time, as you say, or critical, there is a growth of anti-Americanism also here. I'm sorry to see that. Of course, America is not perfect. It made a lot of issues or problems or mistakes. Okay, we all are doing mistakes from time to time, but the highest number of Slovaks outside of Slovakia lives in the United States. We owe our tribute and gratitude for emergence and existence of Slovakia to many in America. In the First World War, for the victory, but also for Woodrow Wilson's plan, including then future non-existent before Czechoslovakia. Second World War, we have been on the winning side due to victors, including victorious powers, including United States. Together we won war and defeated communism or evil empire. So we need each other, and this remembrance, but also commitment, is the best way of gratitude toward all sacrifices in the past. So thank you all, and we go on, and we hope to learn from the past and achieve something better for 21st century.
Thank you, and this is actually the mission of National Czech and Slovak Library and Museum, to keep this legacy of cooperation between Czechoslovakia, United States, or gratitude to the United States for birth of Czechoslovakia, Masaryk, Štefánik, and all of those founding fathers of new state. Cleveland Agreement, Pittsburgh, and so on. So thank you for reminding us this, and yet again, all the best, and thank you. And thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed our today interview with well-known Slovak and European figure Ján Figel. My name is Pavol Demeš, and I'm preparing podcast series The Voices from the Homelands in Bratislava, Slovakia. You can listen to podcast episodes both on NCSML website and podcast platforms. Goodbye from Bratislava.
Thank you. Bye.
This has been the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library